Hello, friends. My name is Samson Emelike. I'm here again with an Excel tutorial. This video, I'm going to have two sets of videos for this particular topic that I want to share. The topic is cells and worksheet basics. So we want to look at the basics of cells and then the basics of worksheets. I would like to start with the cells. The cells are these small rectangles that are clustered in this spreadsheet. They are the building blocks for a spreadsheet. When you open an Excel file, that file is a workbook. And the workbook has different sheets. When you open a fresh one, you may have only one sheet active. And with this button, you can actually add several other sheets. So a workbook is likened to an exercise book. And then you flip the pages. So each of those pages are likened to the worksheets. So a workbook is made up of several worksheets. Depending on what you are doing with the workbook, you may have several worksheets to suit the purpose for which you are working on that workbook. Now, every spreadsheet is made up of these small rectangles. They are called cells. And a cell is bound by these vertical columns and these horizontal rows. The rows are numbered 1 down to 1,000,000 plus. If you want to get to the very end of this row, let's start from here. I'm going to hold down my control button and I'm hitting the downward key arrow. And it takes me to the very last end of the row. I scroll up, you see there's nothing else here. So going back to the top, I still hold down my control button, hit the upward key arrow, and it takes me to the very first cell. Also, let's see how many or where the columns end. I will hold down my control button, hit my right key arrow, and it takes me to the very end. Now, this is the end. Going back to the very beginning, control left arrow key brings me back to this point. Now, some of the things that we will be discussing are the things that not many people are aware of, but we hope that this video will let people know the cells, properties, explore them, know some tips that will help us to speed up the work we do with Excel. So we have stated that cells, they are the building blocks for this spreadsheet. Right. A cell can contain different things. It can contain text, it can contain numbers. By default, when you type in numbers, for instance, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you enter, it is aligned to the right. When I type text like Havron and enter, it is aligned to the left. This is to give you visual acuity when you are working with data. Now let's go back to the Home tab. And by the way, this is the ribbon in Excel, and each ribbon is made up of these tabs. And each tab has its command when you activate it. For instance, the Home tab is active. And then we have the clipboard, the font, alignment, number, and so on and so forth. They are all under Home. If I click Insert, Insert has also these different commands. And each command has its own menus. Page layout also has these different commands. But most at times, we work in homes. Although there are times you come to, assuming you are working on data, you can click on data and then try to use the different features here. I use them a lot, especially this point sort and filter data tools. Okay. So let's go back to our home. One thing we need to know is that when you are working in Excel and you make inputs, look at this alignment, which is under the Home tab. These are the customized alignments that can happen. But you see, by default, none of them, the only thing that is active is this one here, as a bottom alignment. Now, the rest here, they are not active. So by default, a cell will align content to the right if it is number, while it will align content to the left if they are text. Now, let's see if we write a date like this, it aligns it to the right. Now, what of a mixture, say week 2, it aligns it to the left. Now, this is helpful when you are doing your analysis and suddenly you see this number coming over here. It is seeing it as a text. For instance, I can come here and under my number, I decide to apply text format to this. Automatically, it goes to the left. So sometimes when you see numbers on the left, depending on the kind of data processing you are doing, you may not capture that as number. In some other videos, we have demonstrated that where this is seen as text and Excel did not include it in your calculation. Let me undo that. Now, I want to talk about the different things that can happen to a cell. Now, look at a cell as a house or a box. Inside a box, it can contain characters, it can contain figures, and then there is a space around the figures. Now, the space, you can fill it with different colors. You can put frames around the box, and then the character inside is called font. Even whether it is text, whether it's date, whether it's function, whether it's number, they are called fonts. And then the font can actually take different structures, can take different shapes, can take different colors. So when you change those colors, when you change the characters, when you change the space, when you change the frames, you are formatting the cell. For instance, I am clicking this cell containing this number. When I fill this with yellow, you see that this is under my Home tab and then under the font command. I have this. This is not affecting the character inside, rather it's affecting the space. Because you see, this originally was black and it's still black, the characters. I can come here and decide to change the color of the font. I click this, it changes to green, to red. Now I can also apply italics. That means the font will become italicized. I can apply the bold format. I can also go ahead and do double underline. I can go ahead and centralize it. Now I have removed it from the original default alignment. So I have applied my own customized alignment, and you can see this is highlighted. So a cell can be formatted so that the things that are inside it can change to the appearance. Now I want to say that a cell may produce something outside different from what is real inside. What is showing outside is a facade. What is real inside, you can see it here in the formula bar. What we are seeing inside the formula bar is 2, 3, 4. You can see the formula bar does not have the red color. It does not have the underline. The formats that we apply to this cell are just the aesthetic look. They are not affecting the real content of a cell. Now, every cell has an address. we can see these are columns. Then the horizontal lines are the rows. So a cell address is identified by the column that the cell you are interested in is and the row. At that point where the two intersect, that is the cell address. For instance, let's take here. I have highlighted a cell here which is in column D and in row 2. Therefore, the cell address is D2. Now, when you look up here, you will also see the name box saying this is D2. All right. So this is what we use in making reference to cell. Someone can tell you, please go to K2. This is K, this is 2. You point here, and it tells you to type something there, or it makes a reference to the content of that cell. Now, when you select a group of cells, for instance, I am selecting from here up to this point. Let me highlight that for emphasis. I'm highlighting that this gold column. It contains 1, 2, 3, 4 cells. So when you highlight them together, this is a cell range. A cell range is a collection of cells that is more than one. When you select more than one cell, it's called a cell range. Now the cell range is identified, the address is identified by the first address, the address of the first cell and the last cell separated by column. Here, from what we have learned, this is F2. And then here, this is F5. So the cell range that is so highlighted is F2 to F5. Now, this is the range. Similarly, if I select more than this and I come here, I highlight this again, this cell range is H2 and J5. So I'm saying that this is J2 colon, J2 column H2 column J5. All right, so this is the range. All right. So like we mentioned, these are cells and they are able to change shape. Now we have drawn this now, this is a rectangle. When we bring it closer, it can actually become a square. Now the reason why you are able to do this is because the column is adjustable. Can adjust it to the left, can adjust it to the right. The same thing happens to the row. Adjust it upward and adjust it downward. Now, when you, as I am holding this, my cursor, I'm moving it. You see the structure, the shape of the cursor. Now, when I bring it up here, just watch how this is going to change. When I take it to these columns, the header columns, column headers, it's pointing downward that you can select downward like that. And by the time I bring it to the row here, it's pointing towards the right. So when it points to the, when you bring it to the row, you see two arrows now when it gets to a line between two rows, which means you can click and drag downward or click and drag upward. When it comes to the column here, you can see the arrows are pointing left and right, which means you can actually go towards the left or towards the right, depending on what you really want to achieve. All right. So what we also need to know is when you have a cell content, you can apply what is called AutoFit. I use that a lot. Now, let me go to this sheet here. I have this. These are some items ARVs, they are drugs, right? So don't mind those items. Let's just mind the content and see what we want to do. Right now, there are times you'll be working with Excel and then the things inside the cell are so small that you can't see and you don't have time. Because the reason I like Excel is that it helps me to speed up my work. I don't have time to adjust these things gradually. What can I do so that every one of them can automatically adjust to contain its content? All I need to do is, because I want to adjust the columns, I come over here, select all of them, the ones that are of interest to me, let's say up to this point. I can go there to my cell. This is my cell. Under the Home tab, I click here, I open it. Now, because I want to do, I'm interested in the column, I click this. AutoFit column width. And what it does is it automatically adjusts the selected columns so that the size, now the width of the column will automatically fit the content of the cells. I click this. This has adjusted to take whatever that you have here. This has adjusted small. This has adjusted. You see this one that is smallest. It has adjusted to contain the content. Now, for me, let me undo this. Control Z, I undid that. For me, selecting this and then going to Home, assuming I wasn't working under my Home tab, assuming I was working under this Data tab, and I wanted to auto-fit this, I will have to come to the Home before I go to this point, and then come down to the column and then hit this. It's a long journey for me. Like I said earlier, I like using a very short means of achieving what I do in Excel. Now, having selected this, I just come in between any of these lines. I double click and it does the same thing. All right, so this is how you can adjust your column. And it's the same thing if you are dealing with the rules. Assuming that we have this, there are times you are typing and then things are scattered like this, and you really want to ensure that everything is aligned to its content. I select this just like I did for the column, and in between any line here, I double click and everything automatically fits. It is sized to fit in whatever content it has in the cell. All right. I want to talk a little bit on formatting. We have talked about the formatting. Let's go back to the other sheet. Right now we have this here. When I click away, there are no borders here. So I can apply border under font here. Because this is my border. Well, I don't like this. Can I put this at the middle, very middle? Yes, I come here under my alignment, I bring this up, and that gets that. This is beautiful. So can I make this bigger? I can either make this bigger either through here or just by clicking this and it keeps increasing, all right, to the point that I want. So this is lovely. And then what else can we do? Now let's see. I have this. This is a common border formatting, but you know that we can also have thick borders. So when you click here, there are several options. I will also encourage you to explore them, the different options. We can change the line colors. Automatically, it's on black. All right, so when you click that, you will now have, assuming I click it, you see, this is red. Anywhere you type, anywhere you draw this is going to be red. For instance, I click here, all right, so this is going to be red. You can do a lot of things here. Let me undo that, and I escape. Good. Now, I want to show us something that not everybody may be aware. Like I say, I like to explore and see how I can use shortcuts to make things happen. Now, let's say I want to, this is my January You should know that Excel is smart enough to intuitively predict what you want to text, you write when you give it hints. So it recognizes JAN as January, and then by the time I do a hand fill or flash fill, it predicts and gives me the different months of the year. The same thing here. If I say this is Monday and I say, give me the rest, it goes ahead to give you the days of the week. If I come here and I say, Excel, I have one here, I have two here, I'm selecting these two. Excel is smart enough to know that the next line is going to be 3, and so on and so forth. The difference will be 1, 1, 1, 1 above the other. If I come here and I say, this is 0, this is 5, I select the two of them. Excel is smart to say the next numbers that are generating are going to be a difference of 5, 5, right? So this is this. If I come here and I say, let's say 0 here and 10, of course, the next thing is that the next ones will be in tens, difference of tens, as we have seen here. So this cell, each cell is smart enough to intuitively predict what you want it to do. All right, although it's not in all cases that it predicts right. So those ones he knows it cannot predict right, he highlights them in dashed lines so that you can either confirm by hitting the enter or you do another selection. Okay, so I want to, now assuming this is, I'm still continuing here because there's something I want to do. Assuming I want to color Sundays. I want to color Sundays. I want it to be like this. I want it to be at the middle. I want the size to be as big as this. I want it to be red. I want it to have double for underlines, and I want it centralized. Do I need to apply this here and repeat all the formatting that I did here? Not necessarily. All I need to do is to come here, pick my format painter, and I click it. You see those dashed lines around them. So it means wherever I hit this, wherever I drop this, I'm duplicating the formatting here. So since I'm interested on Sundays, I drop it here. And then my song becomes exactly like this. When I awaken, you see that it's actually at the middle, all right? It's at the middle. So it's the same thing. If I have several places I want to apply this, instead of clicking once here, I double click. So that if I drop it here, I can also drop it here. I can also drop it here, wherever that I have interest. And remember, this thing is still there. So when I am done, I can remove this format painter on my cursor by pressing Escape. So I'm going to press Escape and it's gone. So I can go ahead and continue to work what I want to do. Now, assuming now I want to take this sun away and move it to another point. The best option that most people will do is to Control C and then come and maybe I'm interested in here. I Control V. That is good. And you still see these dashed lines dancing around your selection. It is because it is still available on the clipboard. It hasn't gone, which means you can still paste it somewhere, Control V. And then when you are done, you either press Escape or you save what you're doing. So right now I'm pressing Escape. For me, the safest thing is to say Escape and the dashed lines go away. Now, I also want to tell us another way that we can copy things. This is this. When I look, this is my selection. I can bring my cursor to the line, to the edge, any of the edges of the selection. This is my vertical line. This is the horizontal line. I can actually click here and hold it and drag it away. I am moving it. I can move it to this point. Moving means it's no longer going to be at this original place. It is here. But if I want to copy, I will still do the same thing, but now I will be holding down my Control button, clicking and dragging it away. And when I come to the point, I will release the mouse. Releasing the mouse before my Control copies it. But if I release the control before the mouse, it is moving away. All right, so let me undo this. Right now, I am clicking, I'm holding my control, and I go to this point. I am releasing the control, and I'm dropping, releasing this other one next. I have moved it, I have not copied it. So it's important to know that when you are copying using your pick and drop, you will release the mouse before you're releasing the control. It's the same thing if you have a group of cells that you have selected. I am going to move. Now, note that when you move, for instance, I am moving without holding the control. I didn't see any other thing other than this arrow on my mouse. But the moment I want to copy and I hold down my control, see what's going to happen. That arrow now has a very positive icon, which means if you do anything, the tendency is that you are copying. All right. So when I release my mouse first, and then I release my control, I have actually copied. So these are other ways that you can actually copy. All right. Then the other thing that I want to discuss here is the ability to use certain things under this cell, under my editing here. For instance, you may have noticed while working with Excel, maybe somebody has worked here and applied a percentage. Say here now, let me highlight this point. Then let me just pick it and put here also. Okay, so I have highlighted this point, maybe light blue, and here I have applied percentage. Now you may not know. So the moment you are typing anything, it's showing you percentage, you enter. Maybe you are typing human beings here. It might tell you number of persons that attended the clinic. You are typing and it's showing you percentage. You say, no, this is not what you want. You deleted it and you're happy thinking that it's gone. You start typing again and it's still appearing. Sometimes it can be annoying. What we need to do is just that point, you should know that this is formatting that has been applied here. Simply come to your editing, click this clear, and you have several options. What do you need to do? You don't need to clean the content, but you need to clear the format. Now, see what's going to happen to this 452%. When I clear the format, the percentage is gone. All right, so if it is 452 you wanted to write, you still go ahead and write 452, and it retains that number. This did not happen here. So when you do this, you're still going to get percentage. So good enough, you've learned the formatting painter here. Click here, say, I don't want to go far. Let it apply to this, and everything goes. So whatever you are typing here now gives you the real figures. All right. All right. So the next thing I want to discuss here is a feature called Find and Replace. We usually teach this at our cell basic level in our tutorial. All right, so I'm going to open this sheet. Now, assuming you are managing this kind of database, and although this is not really much, just about the 700 and something thereabouts, okay, about 740 records. And then suddenly your boss tells you, see, everybody who is on contract, they are now full-time. And so you need to now change all these contracts to full-time. It will be difficult and quite time-consuming to begin to look at them and say, okay, contract, I change you to full-time. So what you will simply do, since you know it's in this column that you have contract or the status, all right? Full-time, half-time, hourly, or contract status. Just do this. You select the entire column. You are going to hit Control F to find. So what you are looking for is contract. All right. Now you can actually say find all if you want to be sure. Find all. It begins to give you the different locations. When you do here, it's going to tell you these are the different locations where you see find. For instance, this one, it has brought you to this point, right? This is 693 rule. All right. So, but what we are interested, I just opened this to show us the option that we can actually ask Excel to show you where they are all located. And this is very, very important, assuming you do not need to change every one of them. Assuming the material, okay, change everyone except so and so. Okay, so you need to now begin to look, where is this person located? Where is this person located? All right. But now our simple task is to change all of them to full time. So we have commanded Excel to find. So he has found this for us. So we are going to ask it to replace. What do we replace with? Full time, right? So we are going to hit replace all because we are interested in doing the same for all. When we hit this, it's going to say done. It didn't take it more than 1 second or two to do it, and it's also giving you a record of how many replacements that were done. Great. So you see, you won't see contracts in this column. All right. So this is one basic thing that can help you to work fast when you are working with a large data data table, right? So there is something again that is very interesting. Let me say two more things that are very interesting. Excel is also very smart to intuitively know what you are doing and will help you. For instance, now, if I want to say everybody who is on in ADC, I want to give them honor, right? And I know that at least these 5 people here, they deserve honor. All right, so I can select this, and while the 5 cells are selected, I can begin to type what I want to. This is what I want for the whole of them. I hold down my control and hit the enter, and then it distributes across every selected cell. All right, so the same thing happens here. If these ones who are on training at this point, I want to give them good, right? I say good, enter. So Excel has this intuitive ability to predict. Another thing I want to demonstrate is the intuitive ability of Excel to look across your array and predict what you are doing. For instance, I'm writing this west.adc. All right, I've entered, and then I'm holding now Control E. By placing Control E, I have applied the flash fill, and it has simply looked at where did I apply this from. See it up here, building.department. And it says here, this is building.department. And so it duplicated everything down the way, all the way to the very last. If I had 1 million records, it would do the same thing in a flash. So this is another feature that Excel has that we can tap into to make our work faster and more efficient in what we do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video on workshop.